Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, all subscribers, viewers, and supporters of this channel. I'm grateful. We are looking into the establishment of ISO 14001 version 2015, and we have got to identify what is called environmental aspects. So, derived from the books of mechanical engineering, where they use concepts or techniques called mass balances. There we have this input-output analysis based on mass balances, but we are not going to do mass balances in order to identify, and we use this technique in order to identify environmental aspects in an accurate manner. And in this discussion, we'll take a look at the aspects of industrial boiler. Before we go on, my Muslim brothers and sisters, please do not watch this video if you are already in a mosque for anything, Friday prayers, lessons, etc. Thank you very much. I wish you Jannatul Naim. We are going to look at the, before we look into the input-output for the industrial boiler in order to identify what are their respective environmental aspects, I'm going to show you in this video, in the next slide. Where does this process of identification of environmental aspects using a technique we call input-output analysis is in the entire chronology of the implementation of ISO 14001? Then we'll recap the definition of environmental management system, what it says, and definitions of environmental aspects, and then we'll look into input output for this industrial boiler, and I will show you how we display all the environmental aspects that we have identified. The all the endeavor is displayed in what I call the dashboard, or popularly known as aspects impact register. Let's take a look at definitions first, just to recap. Now, in the establishment of environmental management system, it is very important for us to know administrative position of our organization in the location of where we are, who we subscribe to, example, the municipal, the government, the insurance company, the vendor, supplier, and all this has got to be captured. These are all administrative. Normally, I pass it on managerial staff to do it. But when we talk about environmental aspects identification, where we use the input-output technique, we are here. There you are. This is where, in my days, we call it initial environmental review. We audit the entire organization, all the departments, all unit processes in order to identify all the environmental aspects being generated by our organization. Once that is done, and this is the technique called input-output analysis, and once that is done, we got to evaluate to determine which environmental aspects cause more significant environmental impact. It requires some knowledge, okay? And on top of that, we also include in my dashboard in this system for version 2015 risk and opportunities in our what they call aspects impact register. So we assemble all the environmental aspects into a very convenient and a wholesome, accurate register of environmental aspects. Once that is done, the company knows its position in terms of environmental management. What are crucial issues? What are important issues? What are legal issues? And all the environmental aspects that they subscribe to are all listed with an accurate evaluation, and they know which environmental aspects causes significant environmental impact. Then only the company would start to promulgate their own environmental policy based on the aspects impact register, not before. Mistakes can happen in that way. Once the policy is up, then refer back to aspects impact register to come up with what we want to achieve, objectives and target. What are our intended outcome? There's a word there. It's a big word. And also how to get on with it and what to do. Who, do what, when and how much. And all this will be consisted in what is called intended outcome. And the intended outcome, whereby within the objective and target, within the environmental management program or planning actions to achieve, we have to include this enhancement. It must conjure, it must amount to enhancement of environmental performance in any of the environmental aspects from any of the process, from any of the management of the organization. By also, we have got to ensure that we are able to fulfill compliance obligation and thus far achieve what are all our environmental objectives. I hope that is clear. Okay, back to the basic. This is the input-output analysis of a boiler. So environmental management system says we got to manage all significant, or actually all environmental aspects generated from each unit processes of our organization, from management right up to guardhouse, literally. Okay, now this is where we have got the input output analysis, and the fact that environmental management systems stipulate that we manage all this by fulfilling compliance obligation and addressing risk and opportunities. You got it right. Good. Now, what are the environmental aspects involved here? The input environmental aspects, please remember, the equipment itself. Why? Why is it an environmental aspect? Because it interacts with the environment. How? I'll show you. Since this is an input, a new unit of boiler comes in as input and it will stay there for many, many years. Yes, good. All right. But it comes in as an input environmental aspect because it's been installed. Now, what sort of environmental impact does it cause? Take a look. As an input environmental aspect, in order for us to determine its associated environmental impact is by looking at its life cycle. Which direction? Upstream of its life cycle perspective. In order to construct, to build a boiler unit, we have got to have components to be assembled together. The body of the boiler, for instance, the fire tubes, many components. All right, you know better than I do. The pressure gauge, the pipes, special materials, most of which, in fact, all of which are made from metals, and it comes from boiler fabrication plant, which comes from each of the components fabricators or manufacturers, which is a later example. And all these metal components comes from metal pieces, metal sheets, metal foils, etc. And where does it come from? Metal ore. And where does that come from? Mining of iron ore, metal ore, mining work. What is the environmental impact then? The more mining of these iron ore, which are natural resources. Therefore, the popular environmental impact is by virtue of the fact that the more we extract resources from the environment resource, the less will be these resources left over for the next generation. That is called resource depletion. It's a very important environmental impact in discussion. And for me, apart from this, the mining involves geological structure, natural geological structure. And when we do mining, it could be blasting, it could be excavation, it could be drilling, and all other techniques known by these people that has maimed literally or damaged geological structures. So the impact to me is in the viewpoint of geologists is damaged geological structure. That's another impact besides resource depletion, which has been interacted to produce this unit of boiler. That's the input aspect. Now, what is output aspect? As this boiler is running maintenance once in a while, scheduled maintenance, or some trip off, or some power trip, or some what do you call untoward malfunction of some of the components, and then it gets repaired. What comes out from this particular structure of boiler are damaged parts from time to time. Well, to name a few, most commonly the fire tubes. Okay, and it caused an environmental impact. How? Let's take a look. Since it is an output environmental aspect, then in order to determine its associated environmental impact is to look at its life cycle perspective downstream. What happens next? These damaged parts, if it's metal, normally it would be recycled. I would second that. Then along the way, that would cause, I would say, an environmental impact called resource conservation, but I didn't put it there. But eventually, upon recycle, I go further into the life cycle stages, further down and down. End of the day, all these metals are brittle. They no longer retain the metallic property. The strength is no longer there. These the molecules of the metal structure gets disassociated, and it cannot come back together. Eventually it will become garbage, and those waste would then be, after a few cycles of recycling, I believe it will be dumped in perhaps sanitary landfill, and it interacts with the environment to cause perhaps soil pollution, or upon inundation or heavy rain, it might what I call runoff into nearby ditches and causes water pollution. That would be the environmental impact towards the last stages of its life cycle perspective. But I can stop when we are recycling these metal parts and say the environmental impact is resource conservation. Yes, why not? I've done it in the past videos. I think you've seen it. Now, so the rest, please think about it. How fuel interact with the environment. You have seen the previous video. You know all this. Air emissions, chemical waste as output. What does it cause? Heat. What does it cause? I have discussed in earlier videos. Please take a look. And chemicals, where are they from? All right, okay, and water. And please, by all means, consult your respective environmental management or environmental sciences consultant or environmental engineering consultant and your trainers to go deeper and broader into this. I'm just sampling only a few of the environmental aspects for our discussion. So this is the dashboard that I've been talking about, and this is how we display the environmental aspects from a relentless resilience endeavor for each and every processes within our organization. You can imagine how vast it is, but please keep it in this form. When we were doing it in those days, I have my staff do it, and these young people, they're very good in Excel, not from my era, but I learned from them. This is how we do it. Look, the format, please remember, from my experience since 1996, I've never gone wrong by using this format. That is why I'm confident to share it with you, okay? And we begin with the first column. It has got to be activity. Remember, activity names such as heat generation, such as printing, such as blending, okay, and all this. These are not environmental aspects. They are process names, okay? Environmental aspects are involved in this so-called named process, whereby the process is actually involving environmental aspects, other environmental aspects such as machines, tools, okay? And it generates environmental aspects from that processes. So that process is a name representing a mechanism. It is not a noun, it's just a verb, okay? So I put it that way. Industrial boiler, actually by right, it is called a steam generator. Actually, by principle, we can do that, but it has been a household name. So industrial boiler unit itself is an environmental aspect, okay? So this is environmental aspects, the second column, and its associated environmental impact is situated here. And then we have evaluation for the environmental aspect to determine which one causes most significant impact. And not forgetting, we have got risks and opportunities in this dashboard as well, so that it is convenient, so that it would stimulate decision making by the top management. They are able to see what you have seen and what you have recorded during the site visits and during your discussions with experts down there in the operation, where the management might not be able to have a good interaction or more detailed discussion. There you are, you put it there. Okay, please involve those people in the operation when you do this. Okay, what I meant is, when you are determining the environmental aspects, please involve those MacGyvers, those operational people, the foreman, the technician, the line leaders, the operators themselves. Discuss with them, ask question, then you get the correct, a more accurate description of the process, and you discuss environmental aspects over there. And we have environmental performance as well. In order to conform to Vision 2015 ISO 14001, we have got management performance index, we have got operational performance index, environmental condition index over here, and we have eventually the environmental performance evaluation position score. How have we performed? After this, it's then it's up to us to, remember, formulate our policy and then our environmental objectives, our environmental targets, and our environmental management program to go forward. That's about it for this boiler unit. I believe this is adequate. I thank you for your time. Thank you, YouTube. I'm grateful. Thank you all subscribers, viewers, and supporters of this channel. As a Malay, I wish everybody in Bahasa Melayu semoga dikurniakan kesenangan, keselamatan, kesejahteraan, kebahagiaan, dan kejayaan kehidupan di dunia dan di akhirat. And before that, let me show you that in the next few slides, in the next topic, in my next endeavor is to have to bring you the examples of what do you call it, details of evaluation technique. We are going to do this, okay, very soon, and I'll post this video. We are going to look at aspects impact evaluation technique. Samples will be given to you, and you can check and compare and make it better. Or you have a good one, then you know you have a good one. All right. So until we meet in the next video, as a Muslim, I wish everybody Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.